Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot, and welcome to a third-party reading. So, we've gotten a lot of messages have come through so far regarding additional energies that are impacting this relationship, and we're going to dig in and take a look at that again because it seems like over the last couple of days the need to do that has been rising. Plus, based on the notes that I received from you guys, it's definitely something we need to look at. So it will be a third party reading. It will also be a general reading for this collective. So if you find that it is resonating with you, and remember, it's not going to resonate with everybody, shouldn't resonate with everyone. If you do find that it resonates, you may want to take a look at some of the other readings, and get a better feel for kind of what else is happening in the background, other messages that might be useful for you. You may even want to subscribe. So we're going to jump in by looking at the current energy. And by current energy, I mean the energy that's kind of happening in around you and your person, and mostly today. So if you guys saw the September readings and the moon reading, I was looking at the energy that's happening across the month of September or across the time of the full moon. This is more today oriented. So we've got that Five of Cups, and we've got the Three of Pentacles. Okay, so the Three of Pentacles is a little bit more of a positive energy on top of that Five of Cups, but it's hard to deny the sadness of the Five of Cups. So there is a sadness in today's energy, but there's also a sense of the ability to pick yourself up. So, and really what I think we would want to see is, realistically speaking, not necessarily just no longer being sad about these things that are sad. You have to work through them, but also maybe, well, so if you look at it first, you'll notice that the focus is on the sadness, and you see these cups over here that are lying down, and they can't hold any liquid. Back here behind her, you'll notice that there are some that are still standing up. There's potential there. There is possibility for transformation. There's opportunity, and it's hard for her to focus on that. So what I really like for you guys now is to see this card go into the reverse, because the way that I will often read this card in reverse for this collective is not just focusing on that negative, definitely still being able to say, here's how I feel about that, which that can be tough all by itself. So being able to say how you feel about that, as well as being able to see the positivity or the opportunity for positivity that's still back there. So here, though, I see more of that focus on what hasn't gone well, and you definitely need to spend some time focusing on that. If this is something that's weighing heavily for you today, you've got to honor that. But keep in mind also that there may be some positive energy out there that is looking to pick you up, and it might not be a bad plan to allow that to happen. Okay, so let's clarify, get in a little bit deeper. So it's an energy of a day that might be a little bit of it might feel a little bit low energy, might feel a little bit sad, focusing on something that you're ashamed of or otherwise not very happy with. There's an Ace of Swords here. So there's something that is, you're missing it. And this is energy between you and your person. But it's kind of heavily leveraged in you. This card, the Ace of Swords in the reverse, is a little bit more shared. So this is a feeling of something, and we've seen this one before, something standing in front of you. It's a truth in front of you that you're aware of, but for whatever reason, it's not figuring in very heavily into your daily life. Let's look a little bit deeper in here. Okay, so we've got the Hierophant coming out in the reverse. Advice out there that for some reason you're not able to connect with the advice. It may be that no, I think you're hearing it. I get that you're hearing it, but it's not connecting. Like, it's not making its way all the way. Like, it's not working all the way for you. You're seeing it. It's frustrating. The advice itself becomes frustrating. Because you're not able to interpret it, but it's not necessarily, I wonder where this is somebody that wishes you well. I will say that. You've got some lessons that you're in the process of learning, but this energy is a little bit on the the sad or frustrating side. No, we don't take those. So you've got some energy that or some lessons that you're in the process of learning. It does feel like it centers around what I call the big three. So the fear of rejection, betrayal, and to some degree abandonment. It's really a rejection fear that wants to come out off of this card today, though. It's a fear of rejection or assumptions around rejection. There's something like that. There's something that is impacting your ability to take this message because of an assumption around rejection. That is what I will say. Like those two are very much connected. We also have the Empress card in reverse, and this is something that it's like it's lack of development, but it's like the preparation isn't quite there. It's that sort of thing. So you run into someone and you're not ready to deal with the feelings around them, but even more than that, like you're not prepared, you're not actually prepared that day. It's like running into someone at the grocery store that and being dressed in a way that you don't want to be dressed, in addition to not having the faculties to manage whatever emotions that person evokes. So it's kind of not to say that you will run into each other at the grocery store and you'll be looking all raggedy. I don't necessarily mean that. I just mean that's the kind of energy that's there. Again, though, it's kind of got that frustrating edge to it. And that just kind of is the overall energy of the day. So it's in the background. Doesn't necessarily mean you need to be having a frustrating day, just that there is some of that back there. We have the Sire of Wands, definitely a desire, and this is more their energy coming through, wanting to control it. There's a desire to kind of, again, and I've said this before, not just control the situation, but also control the narrative around it. And that alone can be frustrating. It's a frustrating energy to be in. But in some cases, we're looking at some pretty tangled webs, and there's also a lot of time that it takes to get into the situations and have all of the bonds be the way that they are. And so there's a lot of complexity that happens. Trying to control your way out of it will sometimes tighten the ropes around you a little bit. Now, we have the Four of Cups here. Somebody got surprised by something, and this is the energy of remembering that. So when I say somebody got surprised by something, I more or less mean that when this would have been earlier on, they expected to have a certain response to you. Your person expected to have a different response to you than they're having. They thought they were going to be able to walk away more easily. In a lot of cases, that's what it is. And then they've realized that they've not had that experience and that you have kind of been hanging in their mind. And so they have gone to great lengths in some cases to really just get away, to establish some of that control over things, to not have to feel this, and it won't go away. As a result, though, they haven't slackened their hold on things, and the problems have not slackened their hold in return. So it feels like we've got all these webs that are woven, and the more they struggle, the more they kind of get tied up in it. But I don't get the sense that their healing is moving forward at this time. So they've done some healing already. We've definitely seen that. But this is a part where maybe they're doing a little bit more damage to themselves than they are healing. And so we've got the Page of Swords and the Nine of Wands. This is almost that sense of struggling to get yourself out of the net, but being naive in the way that you do it, saying things you don't mean, so this is, again, heavily on your person, but there's a little bit of that energy that may be coming out in you as well. So you may say some things that you go back later and say, I wish that had come out a little differently. Sometimes you have the opportunity to go back and fix it. Sometimes you don't. But I mean, it's not necessarily that situation that had you all upset. It was more the energy that was going through you at the time. So watch for it today, though, because it's going to be based on things that are kind of resistance that you still have to this healing. So this is the Nine of Wands, really is a card of resistance, but it's emotional resistance to something, to a situation, to an occurrence. And it's like you could actually just be Resistant to the healing. I feel like your person is strongly resistant to their healing, to the point where even though they may have made some nice progress in the past, today is maybe just not one of those days. Um, the third party energy did not specifically come up in here, but I will say that it, with the Sire of Wands, it is implied. So and we're going to get into the nature of this third party energy again, but just to be clear, I know one person, a couple of people had said, can you explain again, or I'm having trouble understanding what you mean by the third party. And so keep in mind that the third party is, there could be many people involved. So I had people a few months ago that were talking about, well, I got a third party and a fourth party and a fifth party, etc., because they started adding in, you've got that person had a spouse, plus there was a job involved, plus they had a spouse. It was multiple people that were other forces besides just you and your person. And that's really what it is. So it doesn't have to do with who's there first or how it works. It's you have you and a person. You guys are number one and number two. You are the two parties. Anybody else who factors in there, regardless of the situation, would be considered third party energy. So that's kind of the definition of it, if that's helpful. And now we're looking at what is happening with that third party energy, because we've seen a lot of shifting, movement, challenge in the last few days, and it's a matter of, what can we expect? And I feel like I've been shuffling most of this time, maybe all of this time, but nothing has yet popped out. At least I don't see anything. Nope, there it is. Oh, let's see how it falls. And it fell face down. So we don't want that one. But what's happening in that third party energy? They've had lessons that they were learning. We did a reading a little while ago where they felt like they were done with this third party on some level. Oh, but it was not done with them. So we have the Hanged Man still in the Hanged Man mode. Okay, this is in the reverse. So this one, so that's what it's supposed to look like when they have resolution on the new perspective. At this point, though, they don't have that resolution yet. It's very much still kind of hanging in there. Let's see what else is going on here. So they don't have the resolution. What I don't understand is whether or not they know that. Because things seem like they are, and I dropped dropped a couple of them that time. They seem to know that they're in a situation, but I don't get the sense that they are completely aware of what resolution they have and what they don't, because there's a lot of lack of clarity happening with this energy, and it almost makes me it makes me feel their anxiety. So it seems like it's not just anxiety. So we have the anxiety from kind of walking through a dark room, knowing that there's something dangerous in there and not being able to get to it. So they are now not sure where the hazards are in their situation. They know that third party, like some kind of cover has been blown. Something has come to light. Person found out about you or found out about a most recent development with you. They had a diary entry about you. This person found, whatever it is. There's something that happened here. It doesn't have to be about you, but it could easily have been. It is creating an issue where they now think there are hidden dangers, okay? And so they have that feeling of anxiety and like a buzz where they're walking through a room. They expect there to be a bear trap on the floor and they have no idea when they're going to hit it, or if they're already past it. Like they don't know how dangerous they know that things are dangerous. They can't see it. They can't sense it. Then you have the Chariot. This is like a response to just clam up and close up. So this is more of an emotional response. They may still be going through the motions. At work or at home or whatever the situation is. There's a sense of they almost are going through the motions so as not to call additional attention to themselves. That is the energy that wants to come out. The tip top, like the high level energy that wants to come out, is they are unsure about things, feels dangerous. They don't know where exactly they're going to encounter the danger. And there's just a sense of kind of closing up. Let's see here. That's not a very positive. It matches with this energy of the day. Kind of wonder what's going on. So they've got a Six of Pentacles in the reverse. There's a sense of something reverberating for them. So there's over and over remembering this, and we've already seen this concept, something that didn't go well, something that felt bad, and they know they made a mistake. Um, they can't correct it, can't figure out how to correct it. There's judgment. This is them thinking about it. And this is the kind of day where they're going to be focused on things like that. And they're not really going to be able to do very much about it. Or they feel like they can't do very much about it. They feel like they're silenced on some level, possibly like closed, rusted shut. They might not be anybody, that this third party may not be saying, you cannot talk to this other person. It may not be that type of situation. Third party for some of you is work. For some of you, it's a family member. For some of you, it's a spouse or a significant other on one or the other side. And for some of you, it's more than one of those things. So this is energy that overall is making them feel this way. Now, if for those of you who have more than one person or energy that would be considered kind of that third net, so if you've got like the third, fourth, fifth, as that one person said, then, it's something, it may be sticking up higher than the rest of them. But the idea is they feel that danger. They know that some kind of new information is out there that they don't know how to navigate yet, and it's got danger in it. And so there's a lot of retraction of emotion going on. We've got the Queen of Swords here, which suggests that they actually are wanting to remove something, cut something out. And with the Queen of Cups, we get, with it being in the reverse here. Oh, hold up. We need that. Okay, with it being in the reverse, it's like this is why you're seeing this rash cutting things out or turning their back on something. They could be turning their back on you. They could be turning their back on kind of everybody in a situation. It's difficult to say because it's kind of that overall vibe that they have, the overall kind of vibe that they have is cutting. It's feeling like they're cornered. This is kind of part of what it feels like up there. It really is more like walking through a dark room and not knowing where the bear trap is, but they feel emotionally cornered on some level. The Queen of Cups represents what's happening as a response to that. So they're smashing their emotions down. They're and yet they're making this kind of codependency response, which for them may be very much a disassociative thing. And so they may be backing away from everybody. It might just be you. It's difficult to say. With the Queen of Swords here, there is definitely some degree of ghosting out, cutting things out. You may find them having been fairly vulnerable and suddenly becoming quite uncommunicative. And it's about this third party, but not specifically something that has happened in that situation. That whatever's happened in that situation probably encompasses more than the energy around you. It's more an interaction between them that is not going well, especially because your person has made some decisions about that here recently, and that's caused them to feel a little different in the partnership. So we have this 10 of Cups, though. They have some idea of what would be the right direction to go if they could just get themselves to do it. At this point, it seems like they can't necessarily get themselves to go in that right direction, but they feel like they know what that is. This is part of that 10 of Cups lesson that they haven't probably finished learning yet, about what happens when you see something that seems like it's too good to be true. The answer is basically different every time. You've got to get in, you've got to evaluate it, you've got to figure out something seeming like it's too good to be true means that you don't have the full picture as you're coming in. So it might be too good to be true, and you get in and say, okay, this isn't what I thought it was, but here's how I'm going to correct for it, or this is it's even better than I thought. Then what do you do? So that's part of what happens. So they've got the What happens when it's actually better than you anticipated? What do you do then? How do you make changes to your life that make you be able to make the right choices or go toward the right thing? Now all of a sudden you have a 9 of cups in the reverse here that is saying something is not as it should be. Your person is not happy with where they are in their life, and they have to figure out how to get past it because they haven't learned the lesson of the 10 of cups, which is what do you do when you run across something that feels different than what you expected. But there's also a lesson of the 9 of cups, and that they have to listen and or learn, and this is something that you also have to learn. That's about going for the thing that makes you happy, okay? The thing in your life that actually is your wish fulfillment. And so there's a quest, and you'll see that referred to in the 8 of cups. So the 8 of cups, 9 of cups, 10 of cups come into these readings on a fairly regular basis. And here lately, we've seen a lot of 7 of cups too. But what this is, the 9 of cups is about finding that wish fulfillment, and the 8 of cups is the quest that you go on to find it. So both of you have had to kind of work through what is it that I truly want now, because it may be a little different from what you've thought in the past. The Lovers card comes out as far as this one is heavy on the choice. So the Lovers card and the Choice card we know have been the same card in the past, and the Lovers card often signifies a choice. Um, with this situation, it absolutely signifies a choice, but it's like one that's in super slow-mo because they're sitting in this dark room worried about bear traps right now, rather than moving through the choices that are available to them. They don't feel free to do that. They don't feel like they're able to overcome the conflicts and the challenges that are heading their way, represented here by the 5 of Wands. It isn't so much a going with the flow feeling as a not confronting certain things kind of feeling. Yeah, they're not confronting something, and they're still being afraid to let something go. We've seen that a lot in this third party situation where they're afraid to let something go, and it ends up being the stability. It may also be a little bit of what's kind of putting you into this super slow motion Lovers energy, which is frustrating because for some of you it is actually super slow motion love energy. Some of it is, or Lovers energy. Some of it is they keep coming back to you, and some of them are some of you are dealing with people with narcissistic tendencies, and so you'll see that pattern, but you'll also see lots of things that kind of mirror it, where they come back your direction. They're very interested in you, and you get to a place where you're willing to allow yourself to be vulnerable again, and then they basically close the door on it. But it's not as capricious and out of nowhere as it seems when we look at this. When we look at least not when it's happening now, it looks like it has to do with taking the super slow motion nature of it, because they're afraid to let go and become less stable in their situation than what they've been. They prefer the stability. They don't want to, in some cases, this is a person who would be walking away from a marriage, or who may be walking away from a marriage and trying to figure out, how am I going to resolve this? How am I going to do this without losing all my money and access to my kids, or whatever the situation is with them. In some cases, there's not a marriage involved. It's about a job. It's about working together. It's about family that is going to be very upset with them if they do the wrong thing. And so they are kind of doing, they're not necessarily doing what's really the right thing. They're doing things for reasons that are not necessarily dearest to them. So this is winning a battle. It's insisting on winning a battle, but not necessarily for the right reasons or by the right means. There's action that's happening here that kind of is a twisted version of what would be happening if they were making decisions just solely based on themselves. So the third party exerts a lot of energy on them. There's a lot of fear. Something, like I said, has been found out, or something has come to light that's creating an even more fear-filled experience for them. And you see that a version of them, or a portion of them, kind of shuts down and pushes things away. Also, they can't unsee what's happening. So they seem a little bit more aware of some elements of this, but it's also like they're seeing it from such a strange angle they can't see the whole thing. We got to look deeper into this again. We will look in the in the extended. The link will be down below in the description. I think this is a lot of good information, and I think it's especially helpful to know what kind of day that it is on top of. So that, I mean, the day is always good, so that way you have some way to um, keep it in context. You know, when you see the rest of the reading, then you can keep it in context based on the energy of the day. But we're going to dig farther in and, of course, try to get a little bit more emotion out of this, although we're getting some emotion here around the fear, around the desire. This is like hiding behind a tree and hoping nobody notices you, not wanting to engage the challenges, not going with the flow, but hiding from it, kind of. So we'll look a little bit more into this, what's happening as far as the interaction between them and the third party, and then hopefully some of their emotions around it in the extended. First, though, I want us to look at you and think about, in this energy, based on what you see happening, where should you be focused on at that, or where should you be focused at this time? So we have, I'm throwing cards everywhere. Okay, we have the Strength card. Not this one. We have the Hermit in reverse. We have the Lovers that has come out sideways, and I'm just going to go ahead and leave it sideways. So with the Strength card, this is actually what's coming through for me is less what I usually think of when I think of the Strength. No, it's pretty similar. So the Strength card is usually strength versus fear. And when it's in the upright, it's about the strength coming out over the fear. And this is important. This is what's happening here. But you have this in you. That's part of what the energy behind any frustration that you're feeling, behind whatever all this is that's kind of coming into your energy today. What's behind that is a desire to make things right, and a desire to move forward in a positive way. Reminds me a little bit of when I did the reading the other day about the full moon. Not the full moon reading itself, but I did a soulmate snapshot afterwards that was kind of more directed to how the moon impacts your relationship. And it had kind of that same feeling. It also kind of had this feeling of needing to go back and maybe relearn. If you've written things down, go back and read what you wrote. This super slow motion lover's energy, strangely enough, is being mirrored by you. So there's something here about this that doesn't move quickly by your standards either. It's like, I think this is part of what you're learning and part of what your healing is right now. You are also not, you see something differently. Where they may be making some rash decisions right now, I don't get the sense that you are. So that super slow-mo has a different impact on you than it does on them. You may be feeling more like you can communicate. I see a Knight of Cups here, which isn't necessarily about communication most of the time, but it kind of feels like it is. It might feel a little bit like you're starting from ground zero, though, in a place where you thought that you had already laid some groundwork. But here we have the Knight and the Page of Cups. So there is a sense of some communication that you may feel ready to make now. I don't feel like it is communication in the direction of your person. So you may have be prepared to make communication in the direction of your person also, but this feels like it's referring to something else. Maybe it feels like it's referring to someone in your family or someone that you've been having kind of an impasse with, where you're able to say, listen, I didn't mean it that way, or something to that effect. It's got a feeling of not so much apology. I almost said apology when I first saw that Knight of Cups, but I was like, that's not really what it is. It's more of acknowledgement than it is apology. I feel like this sideways lover's energy is kind of part of what's bringing in your ability to do this. It's like an ability to stop time and say, okay, just for a second, let me focus on something else. Like I said, I don't think this is related to your person, even if you also feel that way about your person. So we have the Death card here and the Sire of Swords. This is a good combination. The Death card is about something that's ending, and it's ending to make way for something new to grow in its place. Something healthier, something better, something stronger. And the Sire of Swords is all about being able to have the strategy, the strategic mind to make it happen or to let it happen, to help it happen. So take this energy that you have that essentially feels like you have, it's, there's a lot of energy in you that doesn't seem like it knows exactly where to go. And you've got this super slow motion lover's energy happening right here, that you may find yourself overwhelmed with a desire to fix things with somebody, with this family member, and feel like you're coming from some sort of disadvantage here with the Seven of Pentacles. With the Sire of Swords and the Death card, though, this is this is really good. This is you enforcing a change within yourself that I'm not sure anybody else really knows about this, but it is a very positive change. And I like your ability to be strategic about it because it doesn't feel like overly logical or you leaning too heavily on logic. I guess it has a dose of emotion in it as well. So you don't find out that you make some, you got to have some balance in the way you make decisions. And it feels like that is, reasonably balanced between the logical and the emotional as far as how your decisions are being made in whatever it is that you're facing right now, because I think you're facing more than one situation. This change that is implied by this death card is not just one situation. It's pretty global for you. You've got a Seven of Swords though, so be careful. This is a card of deception, and a lot of times I see it as trust, whether it's self-trust or trusting other people. And what I'm seeing here is there's something you can't trust, which I don't know that this comes out for us very often. Most of the time it's about self-trust, but in this case it feels like there is something that you need to be careful about it. I don't think it has a lot of dominion over you or a lot of power over you. Just be aware that, keep in mind what you say and who you say it, where you say things. Make sure that the right ears are listening. It's got that kind of feel to it. It's not the end of the world. Just take the warning. Be aware that there may be places where you want to kind of be sensitive to what you're saying and how it's being said. You do have a lesson that pops out for you here, and it's like it happens. I feel like it happens probably in the next couple days. It's got a very impending feeling to it, but yet you're not getting the whole lesson. This reminds me again of that moon reading where you have a lesson, you have part of something that's coming out, but not the whole picture. I would just say keep at it because it's like you have to be watching when the light shines on it. It's got that feel to it. But I also get the sense you're going to do that just fine. We'll dig a little bit more into this when we get into the extended as well, because I feel like your potential is greater than what we're necessarily seeing here. You've got the Ace of Cups. This is part of why it might be significant. We've seen that your energy has been kind of closing up and opening again. And it's not so much that your energy is opening and closing, it's your ability to give and receive energy that's been opening and closing up. And so we see it opening up again here. We see you opening up to somebody over here. We also see, hey, be careful what you say and to whom you say it. That's going to be important. It also is something that you're not going to be able to kind of, I don't think you're going to be able to stop yourself when the time comes for you to say what you need to say. Whether it is something that comes out kind of like an apology, which I don't think that's an apology as much as, like I was saying before, an acknowledgement. Even if you're saying it in a place where you're then going to have to do damage control, which could be the extent of the Seven of Swords and the be careful where you say things energy. But I feel like you're going to end up fine. We'll look a little bit more deeply into this. The Ace of Cups is what gives me that sense of things being fine. The Queen of Wands gives me that sense of you're just going to do it anyway. But let's look into that when we get into the extended. Let's also look into your person, because like I said, this energy over here, that's part of how we have to take the whole overall message. And this is a little bit intense because they are not entirely aware of whether or not they've learned this full lesson over here and the thing that has to come into focus, but they are watching themselves. They're looking at themselves. They're watching themselves. They're watching you. They're watching other factors, other energies, and they're not necessarily making their decisions for the right reasons. It feels a little clenched. So in this frustrating energy, though, I'm not entirely sure that's surprising. We'll look a little bit more deeply into it, hopefully a lot more deeply into it when we get into the extended. Like I said, the link is down below. And I think tomorrow we're going to look into what's coming your way with new energy as well. So I look forward to seeing you there.